Welcome to the Intuitive Inc. radio show live with your host, Servet Hassan, with another inspiring author who can help you discover your true potential. Live on Clear Source Radio.
Hello, everybody. It's Sunday night. The name of the show is indeed Intuitive Inc., and I am Servet Hassan. Still, I'm going to be for a while, I think, too. Anyway, we've got a really rocking show for you tonight because we're going to be talking all about crystals and how they can heal you and the science behind it and why everyone should be doing it. And the author we have on the line with us today is Kac Young, and she knows all about it. And she's been a producer, writer, director in the Hollywood television industry for a gazillion years at least. Well, I think 25, but that's a long time for that. Anyway, above and beyond that, she's got a PhD in natural health, a doctorate in naturopathy, and she's written 15 books, which I could name. Some of them are like really cool. Feng Shui, the Easy Way. I picked that one because that's going to kind of go right into the crystal thing too. But there's some called Dancing with the Moon and 21 Days to the Love of Your Life, which we've got to have her back for, I'm sure. And there's all kinds of other books. But her latest is The Art of Healing with Crystals. Kac Young, thank you for joining me tonight. Thank you so much.
Oh, Servet, thank you for having me on. You're just a real gem.
Thank you. Pun intended, right? Definitely.
There you go. We're going to use all these puns.
Yeah,
all these
we're going to
gem and mineral puns.
Roll.
Oh, no, we won't. But anyway, it's good to talk to you again. I love being on your show because I think you are fabulous. You have this wonderful energy. You have a terrific listening audience, and I'm always honored to be part of that group. So thank you.
Oh, thank you too, Kac. You're amazing too. I don't know where you found all the time to do everything you've done. And then on top of that, I mean, I didn't even mention some of the things that you're a licensed religious science minister, a certified therapist, a counselor, all kinds of stuff. You are amazing. And on top of that, I didn't know till I read the book how knowledgeable you were about crystals. And I truly learned a lot. And I've read a bazillion books, and I've been doing this a long time. And you put it in such a clear way. I loved your book. I really did. I highly recommend it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Well, I wanted to take the mystery out of it, and I wanted to put the sacredness back in. I was fortunate to learn what I learned from Frank Alper. Now, he was a scientist. This was in the 80s, and he was a scientist with IBM. So he had knowledge of the chemical structure, the atomic formulation of crystals, and he used them in business and industry. And then he began to see their power as they worked in electronics, and he began to experiment with them in metaphysics and for healing. So he went on to leave his corporate job and teach about crystals, crystal energy, all about healing, applications to the human body, to the human energy system. So I was blessed. I attended a seminar in Southern California, and I was just hooked. He was amazing. And he did something that during that first weekend, he implanted in us healing crystals in our hands, not physically, but metaphorically and energetically. And my life changed that day. All of a sudden, I went from being just a seeker to a healer, and I could feel the energy shift. I could feel the difference. I had connections to the cosmos and to the earth like I'd never had before. And so I left there feeling, okay, I have a new mission in life besides working in my television projects and working on different shows. I also now, I'm a healer, and I better get on about that business. So he really gave me the gift for the rest of my life.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, was this before, did you meet Frank before or after you went to Egypt?
I met him right before. I took his classes a couple years before, And so he primed me and got me ready to really experience crystals, internally at the energetic level, at the vibrational level, because I believe that crystals do three things. They breathe, they are alive, and they vibrate. And it is through their vibration that we hook up with them through our vibration, create a third field. The brain picks up that vibration and changes the chemistry in the body. And that's as simple as it is for healing with crystals. And that's as scientific as it gets. And the ancients used to do that. When I began to study it, I went to Egypt because I wanted to go find out more about how the Egyptians used gemstones and crystals and how they applied them. I mean, after all, the Pyramid of Giza, the whole top part of it was all crystal. It was solid quartz crystal, and the outside was all limestone and feldspar. And these are conductive elements. They can pick up an electrical signal, they can transmute it and transform it and communicate it into another form because they do it purely. They have the atomic structure that is the most perfect thing in the universe. Its structure is like none other. That's why it can't distort energy when you put it through it, and that means heat, electricity, or light. So you zoom that through the crystal, and it's perfect and it's enhanced, and that's why they use them in business and in electronics, because they don't distort any kind of the signal that you put through it. They hold it, they keep it, and they transmit it. So I went to Egypt to find out what the Egyptians did with the crystals and why they were so important to them.
No, right. No, absolutely. And that's one of the things I learned, is because I didn't know that about the pyramids, that the top was completely crystal and beautiful, but I didn't know that at all. And I knew that in the ancient time, they were not just used in ancient sacred sites. Crystals and gemstones, they've been used on swords, on shields, jewelry, and that was an interesting aspect of this, of going into the past too, because in the book you talk about how jewelry was actually, probably came to be because it was meant to be certain stones were meant to be put on certain reflex points. So it was a healing thing, not a, look good thing. Although it looked good, too.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. The high priests and the shamans used crystals and stones at the ear points. They went by the what we call the Chinese 12 meridians. So they went to the energetic points and they put the stones that would heal the body. So when you saw somebody walking around with a big lapis or turquoise in their neck, that was a healing stone. That wasn't just, oh, look how much money I have. That was something that they were healing and working on. They were a very spiritually connected ancient society, and as such, healing, they wore their spirituality with pride. If they were in a healing mode, they didn't run and hide under a bush. They wore it every day because everybody was working on something. Everybody was at some level of spirituality within the God structure that they had at the time. So when they wore the jewelry, it was a healing mechanism. It wasn't jewelry. It was something that would get them well or put them in touch with, let's say, an ancestor or a healing energy or something that they wanted to do. In that time, turquoise was used to heal relationships between others. And so when they weren't fighting and using jasper and carnelian, they were wearing turquoise.
Right.
And, I love the fact that the breastplate of Aaron in the Old Testament, it had 12 stones on it. Each stone represented the original 12 tribes of Israel, from whence we have all evolved. And that breastplate of Aaron was the beginning of that. It became our birthstones in our Western world, but initially they were sacred. They related to the qualities and to the energy of each tribe.
Right. That's fascinating too. Yeah, it's true. Because if you think about it, if you're wearing a necklace, and it hits your heart chakra. It hits you right there. So that energy from that, it's not just, does this match my outfit? It's more, there was more to it. And I truly believe that. I think people, so you took all this knowledge and put it into this book, The Art of Healing with Crystals, in a very plain, a very crystallized way of putting it. Again, we'll stop being corny. But you really did You did take it and make it easy to understand. You really did make it easy to understand. So, you go into the whole ancient, where this all came from, and then you go into how they heal, which is really interesting because, you get into the shapes and the meaning and all. Yeah. First of all, Kac, how long did this take you to gather all this information? Not to write the book. Well, but just to learn.
Probably 30 years, because what I would do is I'd work real hard on my television show, and then we have a beautiful thing called a hiatus. So I would save up all my money, and then on hiatus, I would go to some spiritual center in the world, and I would learn from shamans and from healers, and I would always go to the place of stones, gems and minerals in that place. So I ended up in Stonehenge. I ended up in Salisbury. I ended up in Ireland. I ended up in Greece. I ended up in the Scandinavian countries. I went looking at runes and searching for places to figure out the mystery of all of this. And then I would find locally, in the local libraries, I would find unpublished manuscripts and things that maybe weren't accessible to other people. And that's where I discovered a lot of secrets. So, oh gosh, I took notes and notes and notes and took a recorder with me, and then I came back, and it's taken me years to compile all this information, but that's what I did, because I wanted to stand in Stonehenge, and I wanted to figure out, why did these Celtic people drag these 400-ton stones? 400 tons. Each one is the sarsen that rings Stonehenge. And they brought it from Wales. Now, that's 150 miles away. And they didn't have cranes back then in 2500 BC. They had to bring them overland with ropes and donkeys and wheels and logs. They'd put rolling logs in front of them and pull them. And so I wanted to see what it felt like. What was the big deal, But as I stood there in the Bluestone, and as I took out my pendulum and I went to one of the ley lines, I had the experience that the ancients had when they stood there. So I could watch the sun rise and set across the lines that became geomancy and the sacred lines, the ley lines, the dragon lines of the world. I've stood in the dragon lines in many places, in Sedona, all over the world. Wherever I could go, I've stood there and experienced it, because I wanted to know firsthand why these people did that and how different were they than our society now, and why the heck are we not paying attention to our mineral world the way they did? What have we lost, and how can we find it? Those were the driving questions that took me around the globe, and this book is the product of that. It was just published in July, but the feedback I have had from metaphysicians and teachers around the world is one that humbles me deeply, because they are amazed by it. They love it, and they have said what you've said. It is so simple. It is so easy to understand. It makes it reachable for everybody in the world. And if we get this and start to heal ourselves, we take charge of our bodies, we take charge of our health, we take charge of our mind, body, and soul, and that's where our power is as a human being. From that point, our world will be different if we start there and move outwards.
Oh, well put, Kac. You're hired. I love the show.
Thank you.
I loved that. And the name of the book for everybody out there is The Art of Healing with Crystals. And you are Kac Young, and I'm going to spell that. It's K-A-C, because not too many people see that. And Young is just like she's young, Y-O-U-N-G. But now, where can they find you if they need to get? Well, I'm sure it's on Amazon, right?
Yes, the book is available on Amazon, and when people read it, I would appreciate so much a review, because that's what helps you as an author stay in Amazon's grid. You know, they have all these little bots and things that crawl around, and if you get a lot of reviews, if you have 40 reviews, then you've kind of like made it. You become an Amazon, you're a favored person. So that's always helpful.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That helps. Yeah, you need 40 reviews. And so if people buy it and they review it, that's like a gift back to me, and I'm ever so grateful for that. It can be a short review, just a couple of paragraphs or a paragraph.
Can do that.
But that's very helpful. And if, you know, I do that for people all the time, because I know how important it is to have reviews in the, you know, in those crawling things that they call, you know, in Amazon that go out all over the internet.
Now, do you have to buy the book?
But and people can find me if they want me at my website, which is Kac Young, K-A-C, or as I say, KitchenAppleCharlieYoung.com. And all my books are listed. You can find out more about the books and contact me or whatever you want to do. That's my website.
Right. Okay, great. And I will do a review for you, for sure, tomorrow. I just made a note.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I definitely will. Anyway, there's lots to talk about, and we're going to run out of time really quickly. I'm going to open the lines halfway through the show, but that's 10 minutes. So, I mean, not even anymore. So I just want to talk about now. I have... my crystals are out. I know you probably have way more than I do. Listen, because you talk about the healing power, but it's not just physical healing. It's definitely emotional healing too, correct? I mean, I know that.
Oh, it absolutely is. I mean, even if you look at a crystal and you take in its beauty, that's healing right there.
Right. Well, and touching and holding it. I'm holding a clear quartz crystal right now. That's a perfect. What's the shape when it's just a pyramid on the top and then straight down? It's not a wand because there's no bottom. It's a flat bottom. What am I trying to say? It's not a.
Well, I don't know. It depends on how many, facets there are. It could be an Isis crystal. It could be a generator crystal. It could be so many different things. I'd have to see it.
I'm just talking about, like, in your book, you do go through the shapes and this and the meaning behind the shapes, as well as the actual crystals themselves. And you also talk talk a little bit about that. What about the actual shapes and the meanings? Because you just said that.
Well,
quickly.
Yeah, there's different things that affect what a crystal can do for you. And it doesn't mean a thing, really, because if you tune into a crystal and it works for you, it will do everything for you. But, you know, colors can affect the vibration, because that means it grew up next to another mineral like sulfur or iron or, you know, magnesium or something, and then it will take on that color of that. But the shapes of it have been decided down through the ages by metaphysicians. It's kind of like trial and error. It's how homeopathy was created. They had a bunch of remedies here, and then it was trial and error with different patients. They took, eons worth of notes, and then they decided, okay, this one heals that, this one heals that, and this one heals that. That's how they came upon homeopathy, or kind of like, you know, that's what science does too, a process of elimination. So with the crystal formation, I have given 12 top formations, because you can get so lost in how many stones there are, over 400, and how you can get with the shapes and people's idea and machinations of what it should be. And I've narrowed it down to 12 basic shapes that will give you what you need. And there's the activation crystal, there's a channeling crystal if you want to contact the higher realms. There's a dolphin crystal if you want to work with the kind of the mother or the father energy plus the child. That's either inner child or physical child. The double terminated is a balance of energy. You can heal for mother and the manifestation crystal is when you want to think something and manifest it into reality, and on and on. You know, the rainbow does certain things. When it refracts light, you see things in a different light. And the story crystal is probably one of my favorites because when you can define its shape, it has ancient knowledge in it. And the reason I say that is because I look at a crystal and I feel that a crystal is suspended breath. Somebody somewhere took a breath and that crystal formed as a molten substance into a physical form. It became a crystal. It became stone. And at that moment, something happened, something changed. So it is a breath, and it still breathes. It's still alive. It's atomic. It's moving. It's changing within all the time, and yet it's holding its form and its structure because it has an intellect. It does not have a mind. It cannot make its own decisions, and that's where we come in. We take this pure form, and we're the one who forms the thoughts. We give it the job to do, tell it what it needs to do, and it picks up our vibration and interprets that and goes about its business. And what's good about it is that it just retains the purity of our thought and intention, and it doesn't transform it, transmute it, break it, harm it. It just does it. That's why I love crystals.
Wow. You certainly do. And you do know your stuff. You really do. I mean, you know how every in and out of them, I think. You've been studying them for so long. And you know, this is a culmination, like you said, of 30 years. So I know that you've gotten to that, because it is trial and error too, because that's how things got, you know, they used to say, oh, wives' tales, but there is no such thing really. It's just that things got passed down because they worked. You know, and then people told their children and they told their children, and then we know, like even, you know, I was born in Pakistan, you know that, but I was like, something was going on and a woman was trying to get pregnant, and my mother said, oh, she needs a pearl under her pillow, and I'm like, where the hell did that come from? You know, it was just like,
yes, exactly.
You know? But she said that energy knows, it just knows, and I was like, it's the same thing you're talking about. And I love that when you said story crystal, that's the one I have on my desk right now. It's beautiful.
The story crystal, yeah. Yeah. Well, really it has wisdom, and, you know, we think, oh, well, that's real pretty. Here, I'll just put it on my shelf, and it can just go to work for me. No. You have to work with it. You have to get to know it. I always say, invite your crystal to tea. Take it out with you. Stay at home. Do whatever you want, and chat with it. Listen to what it has to say. Ask it questions. Now, this is where people think, oh, man, you are a nutcase. That is so crazy. And here's where I say, that's our contemporary modern society, and we are missing so much because we are judging this. We are saying something's crazy when, in fact, it is natural. It is pure. It has evolved through generations before us. You know, the Greeks were so smart and so wise, they formed our civilization, and they used crystals and herbs and oils for healing. So what's wrong with us? Why do we think we're the coolest kids on the block? We're not. We can learn so much from the past, from the ancients, and if we bring that into our lives, boom, we become richer, smarter, you know, and we have cars.
Yes. Electric cars. You know, true. Honestly,
an electric car.
Yeah.
Yes.
Honestly, you know, because I know Chinese, I mean, they knew the power of jade. I mean, they, not just jade, but many other things. But I mean, I just read somewhere the other day that Cleopatra used to use a jade roller on her face every day. I mean, these people knew something. I mean, it worked, or they wouldn't have done it. They weren't in it for the profit or something, they wouldn't have done it if it weren't working. And I really believe that. I think now you touched on this a second ago, so I'm going to backtrack a little bit. You talked about essential oils. And in your book, you don't just talk about, you talk about colors to heal and using them with your chakras and all of that, but you also talk about essential oils and then, and using it with astrology as well. I'm kind of like asking you too much, I think. Let's just start with the essential oils. Do you combine the two?
I do. I combine any modality that my client is comfortable with. So if someone is an essential oil user, I wrote the book, The Healing Art of Essential Oils. And so I will bring in an essential oil for them if they are comfortable with that and if they understand them and like them and respond to them. Because we're dealing with energetic healing. I will bring in runes if a person is attuned to that. I will bring in crystals, colors, shapes. I'll bring in music, anything that they respond to that will help them open up and help them heal and help them dissolve the blocks inside that are preventing them from living either a fully physically healthy, emotionally healthy, or mentally healthy life. And I want them to be a complete package of wholeness in all those areas. So whatever it is, if they liked bowling, I'd go bowling with them. Whatever works for them is what works for me. So I will combine, sometimes when I work with people, if they like astrology, I'll work with their signs. I'll work with their moon sign, their sun sign, their rising sign, and we'll put that together, and I'll bring crystals in and different colors. And sometimes we will use hypnotherapy as well to get to the root of a person's issue. I'm skilled in all these areas. I don't use what I don't know or what I can't write a book about. I've got another book about astrology, Chart Your Course. So I have been a student of so much because I want to be able to use any system to help a person heal. That's my goal, is to let that energy of healing work through me in any modality that the client will respond to.
Right, which is excellent. Good. You should. And you have knowledge of all these things, but you do touch on some of these in the book too. You do talk about the different colors that can heal. I know you had an example in your book of a client that was depressed, who had no clarity. He just avoided conflict. He'd run and hide. He didn't know what to do. And for him, you suggested to balance him citrine and black tourmaline to ground and stabilize, which, all of these things are good to know, that I love citrine. I'm a big fan of citrine anyway. I think it's really good for health. But each sign has a certain stone, each, like I'm a Gemini, I know it's selenite. See, I know some things. I'm not that, but not as much as you, Kac. Definitely not as much as you. So it's good to you put all this in the book, though, which is really nice for people that aren't as knowledgeable of you. You touched on certain things, which I liked.
Well, yeah, and I figured that people will, take that and run, because my sort of the new approach that I use is a lot of people will go to a healer and they will place coat stones on them, and they will place stones that match the chakra. I do the opposite. I see what's out of balance, and I will put stones on the chakra that bring that chakra into balance. I don't need to be redundant and put the color stone on the chakra of its color. I want to balance it, and so if something is running, hot or cold, I neutralize it with the opposite stone, and that's where my healing comes in, and that's where, my intuition works with this. So I have to, if I'm healing a person using the system of chakras, I'll run a check on each chakra with them, ask them a lot of questions, and figure out where they have a balance or an imbalance, and then that's the stone that I will use, the opposite of what they need, I will utilize in our healing session. So that works for me. I use the laws of karma as well, asking them a lot of questions and then figuring out how to bring that into balance by using the opposites.
Well, that's in the book too, because you do have a chapter called Crystals, Archetypes, and Chakra Connections, and also with the laws of karma too. So you touch on that as well to heal emotional wounds, you know. I think that's excellent. So I'm going to open the lines, Kac, if we have any brave callers out there, 949-313-8880. If you want to know how these miraculous, beautiful stones, crystals can help you, Kac's the person to ask, and she's on the line. So grab her while you can. Call in if you have a question. I really find it fascinating, and I do think we're missing something because they're there, they're out there. It's so easy. We should utilize everything we can to help ourselves, you know. You talk to your crystals, you said. So is that how you kind of like program them and then cleanse them and you take care of them, right?
I do. I interact with my crystals. They are part of my daily life. They're, in the book I talk about being in the Thomas Fire, having 30% of our house burned. Mm-hmm. Every other house around us was burned to the ground, and when I came back, I thought our house was lost for 3 days, and when I was allowed to come back in the house and found that most of it was standing, I looked over to my left, and there in my room of crystals was my entire bank of crystals, sitting there gleaming. It was a little smoky. The other houses around us were still smoldering, but I tell you that in my heart, I believe those crystals saved this house because they gave off the energy of love and they gave off the intention of helping and healing and saving, and so the firefighters, they picked our house to save. And I'm ever grateful for them and their energy. One of the things I was concerned most about is not my jewelry. I mean, I'd gotten out in 7 minutes with all my pets, so I was okay. I was in my nightgown and I have my cell phone, but I had my pets, and then I wasn't even worried about my jewelry. I was mostly worried about my crystals. How did they fare through the fire? And those were the things I was going to rummage through and rescue first if we were ash. But there they stood, gleaming in the smoky house, but there they were. So I thought, this is a message. Let me finish this book and get it out because I was so strongly connected to them.
I loved that part. You talked about that in your book, and they had their own room. And at first I was like, they have their own room? I was like, I understand now, because I thought that was very touching, because at towards the end of the book, I think it might be the end of the book, where you actually were with your crystals, and one of them, I think, said, "Love me." And that was so cool. It was like you connected on that level where they give, and then you gave back. You did. I like that.
Yeah, and that was a big turning point when because I was just taking from them for many, many years, and then one day we had that conversation, and they told me they wanted to be loved back, and so I went, okay, now I get it. Now I feel this connection. And so, I chat with them. I say hello when I come in. I say goodnight to them every night. I have certain ones that I have when I'm writing. I have other ones that I use when I'm healing. And they're not magic. They are physical entities that do stuff. They transmit love and light and healing energy. So I just put them to use. I don't know what I would do if I didn't have crystals. If somebody said, would you take a book to a desert island if you had to live there? No, I'd take crystals because they have so much to say.
Well, I totally agree with that, and we're going to talk about some of your top 12. But I get that because I have a rose quartz crystal, a big one in my bedroom, because I really think that's just all about love, and I realized I've been neglecting that crystal, and it's a big cluster, so I have to. And I thought I'm going to have to bring you in and cleanse you and and give you some love myself because I've been totally ignoring it. Now, what do you use when you cleanse your crystals?
Well, I can use a variety of things. Sometimes I just clean them in a cool but warm, I think they call it tepid water. Sometimes I'll use an organic soap if they've got, if they've had pollution on them. Sometimes I'll clean them in a saltwater sea bath. It just depends on what I'm doing. And I always take time. I always don't do it when I'm rushed. I always do it when I've got a little bit of time. I'll put some nice music on and I'll clean them. And I have little special cloths that I clean them with. It's just me. I like ritual. I like to make things feel sacred. So I use my special cloths and then I put them out. And sometimes I'll gather them in a little basket and I pad them up nicely and then I'll take them out in the sun. Sometimes they get a couple hours in the sun. Sometimes, in the solar eclipse, they all went outside. They all got to be in the solar eclipse. And sometimes if it's a full moon or a special moon, right, I'll let them be out all night.
Right. It's okay. Well, let's talk about the top 12 that you like the most, the top 12 healing crystals. I know that the number one that you would invite to dinner is going to be clear quartz, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because it's the universal crystal. It's the universal healer. And if you had one that you could choose, that would be it. It just kind of does all things. And it's the ultimate gift from Mother Nature, I think. And so I would take the clear one as my number one, and then followed by that I would choose the amethyst because it's the healer. It's the healing crystal, and it's a soft energy and a welcoming, non-threatening energy. It contains the creative energy of the universe, really, and you can really co-create with it. I just love that connection it has between heaven and earth.
Well, I also think amethyst is really good to connect with your intuition, to your...
Yeah, it's great for telepathy, clairvoyance, and it also helps protect you if someone is trying to attack you psychically. So it does do that. But again, they just sit there unless you put them to use, unless you say to them, this is your job, do this, do that. And so you have to talk to them, you have to interact. You mentioned citrine, and I love citrine too because it is one of two crystals in the world that never needs cleansing. It cleanses itself.
Wow, really?
So it's just beautiful that way. And Queen Victoria loved it so much that she created an entire summer palace in 1852. She and Albert loved citrine so much that they created a summer palace, and their walls were filled with citrine and all that. It no longer exists, but there are some sketches of it, and it looks just magnificent. So I would assume that they would go there to heal and that they would, just love it. Because Queen Victoria liked it so much, you'll find a lot of Victorian-age citrine brooches and necklaces. It was a very, very popular stone because of the lovely Queen. Right,
and the one thing I use citrine for is healing. That's the one when I feel I need. That's the one stone that calls me. So I think that happens too, because I think sometimes we can say, amethyst is for joy, it can connect you to your higher self. It can do all kinds of things, but you may be called to it for a different reason. It may just make you happy, and then wear it. That's the trick. Use it, right?
Well, that's also true, and I think that, you've got your first stone, your universal healer, and then you've got your personal healer and connector and protector, and now in citrine it becomes more of a group stone. That's for balancing the group energy and really reaching out. It's the color of the sun, so think of it as the sun's rays reaching out, and it can cleanse an entire room very easily because it's got all these little rays coming out of it, and it also turns a negative thought or a negative heart into a positive or optimistic one. So it's a sunny and cheerful stone. It's good to have around in your office. It's good to have around in a community room, like in your living room or something. It's good to have it where people go.
Oh, excellent. True. Anybody want to call in? Do it now. Be brave. 949-313-8880. If you have a question about how a crystal could heal you, or just a question about a crystal in general, now's the time. We have Kac Young on the line, and she's written a book called The Art of Healing with Crystals, and she's certainly one of the most knowledgeable people I know on the subject. So now's the time to call in if you have a question. We're kind of slowly running out of time, but we touched on too, the clear quartz and the amethyst. I'm sure rose quartz has to be way up there with you, the one that I've been neglecting and will take care of tomorrow. I will.
Yeah, rose quartz is my number 4 because it's about love and balance and forgiveness. So it's a beautiful thing because it helps you heal your own heart, and it helps you heal other people's hearts. It takes sorrow and makes it joyful. It kind of gets you to turn inward, and then it brings a kind of external healing at the same time. It's the stone that they call the elixir of love, and a lot of people surround their homes with it and in it because it's it's a good thing to have as a romantic stone, and also for self-love, just love in general.
Just love in general. Okay, well, we jumped from 3 to number 4. So what was number 3 then? Because I know clear quartz and amethyst, and then you said rose quartz is number 4. So what would be your number 3?
Well, it was citrine. So we went
citrine.
from clear quartz to amethyst to citrine, and 4 was rose quartz.
I thought we were just talking about citrine because I have some sitting here, and it's one of my favorites. But that makes perfect sense.
Number 3 on the hit list.
No, it makes perfect sense. It really does. And I love the rose quartz, especially for self-love. I mean, that's why I have it where I have it. Now, are you suggesting people keep them near them? Are you suggesting they wear these stones? What's the best way to get the most energy out of what would you suggest for people?
Well, I would say it depends. It absolutely depends how you relate to it, and that's why you have to have conversations. You need to figure out where you're comfortable with a stone. Some people like it in their pocket. Some people like it close to them as a piece of jewelry. Some people like it on their desk. They want to see it. It just depends on what kind of a person you are and how you respond to things and to energetic systems and vibrations. So you're going to have to figure this out for yourself. When you select a crystal or a piece of jewelry, you want to put it in your right hand and you want to put it in your left hand. You want to spend a couple minutes in each hand picking up the feelings of a stone. How do you respond to it? What does it give off to you? And how are the two of you together? And when you do that, then you can figure out how you want to implement. Or you want to, like I said, put it in your pocket, keep it close to you, stick it in your purse. It's all very individual, and you only figure that out when you take time to get to know it and understand each other. That's the reciprocation that comes in.
Right. So when you say you program your crystals, is that what you're talking about? You actually have a conversation with them?
I do. Mm-hmm. I do. When I interview a crystal, and that's what I have in the book, you interview your crystal and you say, things to it like, hi, what is your purpose? Why are you here? What did you come to me for? And then you stop down and you listen, and it will tell you. You will pick up information. Crystals communicate through light, through energy, and through basic thoughts. They have an intellect. They don't have a mind, but they have the intelligence of being a crystal. We all do. We have that in common. We're all intelligent beings, knowing how to form ourselves and to be in the shape that we're in. That's what the intelligence means. There is a central core of intelligence that makes the universe the universe. So we all have that grain, that seed in us. And so when you speak with it, you bring out that intelligence, and it will talk to you. It will communicate with you if you let it. If you put your judgment in the closet and just sit there with it, you will learn things. And once you find out what it has a proclivity for, because we don't know where it's come from, we don't know what part of the earth, we don't know what happened in that moment when it was breath and it became solid. We don't know. So something happened and changed and transformed it. So we get to learn that. And maybe it was originally programmed to heal. Maybe it was to accomplish things. It might be a crystal that needs to be used for sheer forgiveness of things in our past. But we only learn that by chatting with it. And so I have had conversations with all my crystals over the years. I call it, when I cleanse them, I take them out. We update ourselves. How you doing? How's it been? What do you need? And some of them will tell me I need to go out in the sun. I need to be recharged. Some of them will say, I need a longer nap. I just allow them to communicate to me.
Yeah, right. And then therein comes what they can do, and then you communicate as well about what you're looking for. And then usually I think you're called to a different crystal for a different purpose. So
exactly. And I will select them. If I have someone who's very, very angry and they're working out angry, or they're, in a relationship and they're breaking up and they're blaming the other person and they're just furious, I know the crystals that can handle that and calm that energy down. So I'll go get those, and then I will say to them, all right, you know what you need to do. And I'll put them in the healing circle, and they will be the leaders. That will be the energy. They'll kind of set the tone, They'll strike the note that we're going to operate on, and then we follow that. And I have never had a crystal fail. When I have said, okay, we're doing this job, let's all work together, I've never had the crystals not do their job. There's always been some change, some shift, according to what we have decided needs to happen. And I don't decide this alone. My client and I decide what we're going to work on, and we do it together. So there's got to be an openness and a willingness from the client to go down that road, and then we just amplify it up in a whole swirl of energy, and that energy helps the person change, switch the vibration from anger to love, switch it from hostility to forgiveness, whatever we're working on. And that's, it's just like having an extra plug-in. You plug in and boom, all of a sudden you've got this electricity, this current, or you flip the light switch on and something changes. That's how crystal energy works in a healing session.
Right. They are energy. We are energy. So, if you think about that, everything's breathing, everything's alive. These crystals are alive to me. They are alive. They are still breathing, even though they came from breath.
They are. And stones do the same thing. And when we get that, we can't help but treat them with respect and understand that they are participatory in our life. And we're walking on this planet that has all the rock underneath and all the vibrations and all the stones. We may be drilling for oil, but we also should be paying attention to the vibrations that are coming from the ground and the stone, gems, and minerals that are underneath us.
Exactly. I truly believe that. We're almost out of time, Kac. I know this could go on for hours. It could. I mean, we could just talk about this forever. There's a lot more we didn't even touch on. I mean, yeah, you have in the book, a wonderful 21-step process for the art of for an art of healing session, you get into that. You get into the colors. You get into the essential oils. You get into the archetypes, which I found really fascinating, which we didn't even talk about. We, the types of stones, your top 12, and all of these that you caught on to perfectly. I highly recommend this. And obviously you do work with one-on-one clients, so they can find that all on your website as well too, right? CacYoung.com?
Yes, they can. They can always contact me, and yes, that's absolutely true. And I just want to also say that, Dr. Weil believes that the future of medicine is through the human energy systems. He calls it the future of all healing is HES, through the human energy systems. And one pathway is using crystals and gemstones to raise up our vibration and help us heal through our own interactive human energy system.
I agree. I mean, I think everything is energy, and you tap into that energy and you can do all kinds of things. And that's why, people can't explain, how some people can have terminal illnesses and they're fine, and then others don't. But I think we have to tap into energy on many levels. And any way we can help ourselves, why not? And these are living, breathing things that are part of the earth. That's even better to me, really.
They are. And, we are a wise modern society if we look to the wisdom of the ancients and begin to integrate it into our daily life. The more we do that, the richer, the smarter, the healthier, and the wiser we will become. We will be the leaders of the future if we look to the past.
I agree. I think there's a lot to be said about that, not just with crystals, but with herbs and the parts of the earth that we're not taking advantage of and really should have more of a reverence for, that, all of these things are here and they're available. We're just not paying attention enough, even like,
right.
Yeah, essential oils, Bach flowers, all of those things, and crystals.
Yep, and if we revere them instead of exploit them, we will have a much more harmonious life and planet.
Right, and you know what? You said it earlier too, Kac. You said something really, really important. You said, this is not magic. None of this is woohoo-y, magical, put on the turquoise and dance around the fire thing. It's not, and it's not going to, be a magical, hold it in your hand and suddenly you're better. It's a natural energy that you've got to work with, and it works back with you, and it's a natural way of healing, but you have to do, you do the work. It's not just some nonsense like some people think.
No, it's science. It is absolute science, and we are using a property that has scientific and chemical components to it. So we're not making this up. This comes, if we use a cell phone, if we use a record player, we are using crystal energy. So why not put it to use in healing instead of just entertainment?
Oh, I so agree, Kac. You've been a wonderful guest. Again, tell everybody where they can find you. The name of the book is The Art of Healing with Crystals. I highly recommend it. It's so succinct and yet at the same time simple, and also just incorporates all of this into one book without it being 1,000 pages long, because it's not. So I love it. I really do. Kac?
Thank you very much, and it's for the beginner and for the advanced healing practitioner, so it answers everybody's questions. You can find me at CacYoung.com. That's spelled K-A-C, Kitchen Apple Charlie, Young.com. Go ahead and contact me, send me whatever your thoughts are, and buy the book. It's on Amazon, and please review it. That does everybody a favor. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Please bring crystal energy into your life. Become a healer of the future, but do it today.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And thank you so much for taking the time on a Sunday night, on a holiday weekend even, to take time to be on the show and to spread the word and to let people know, the power of these rocks, these crystals, and what you're doing. And I love your work, Kac. I always have. I always will. And I know you'll be back again. Thank you so much, and you have a wonderful holiday weekend, Labor Day. Right?
Bless you, and thank you, Servette.
Thanks. Take care. Good night. Good
Bye-bye.
night. Bye. What a great show. That was wonderful. I love Kac Young. And she really does. If you read the book, she's got so much information in there. I just can't even tell you. And it's not convoluted and what's that and what's this. It's really well done. I highly recommend it again. The Art of Healing with Crystals. I don't do that often where I get all excited and recommend it 92 times, but I am today because I really like the book, and she has a lot to say, and she's really fascinating, and I learned a lot, especially about the ancient times, and even tonight on the show, I'm not sure if that's in the book or not, about Queen Victoria, and had a palace built with citrine and all of that. I mean, that's fascinating. So everybody was onto this except us. So this generation, let's get on it and use whatever we can to help ourselves. Why not? Absolutely. And okay, so she's at kacyoung.com. She likes .com, not Kong, I said. Anyway, and she likes to do the Kitchen Apple Charlie, Young, YOUNG.com. That's where you can find her. You can find me at ServetteHassan.com, ServetteHassan.com. Major revisions to websites and equipment and everything else going. And that's why next week we're doing our pre-recorded show, because everything's being updated for the fall, and we're going to come in with new stuff and all kinds of new interesting things going on. You can find out about me still on the old website. It'll be updated very soon at ServetteHassan.com. You can email me there as well, Servette@ServetteHassan.com. I'm also available for private consultations. I'm traveling a lot starting in the fall. It'll be on my website as well. Private consultations, always new blogs, new podcasts, all that stuff's coming up very, very soon. So I will keep you all in touch. In the meantime, like I said, we have a pre-recorded show next week. It's Premalee Guerreri who wrote the Sacred Well Code. She was on the show not long ago, and we had technical difficulties, so I'm doing it again with her. And she's lovely, and it's a great book and a lot of good information about what you need to do to be wealthy. And wealthy doesn't always mean money. Sometimes it just means having the abundance in the areas of your life that you want the abundance in. And so that'll be next week, and then I'll be back live after that again, and for the rest of the year, I hope. And in the meantime, be you to the full, because that's what's truly beautiful. That's what makes your life happen. That's what makes things come to you easily and effortlessly if you just get in the flow. And getting in the flow means being your authentic self. Be you to the full. That's what's really beautiful. God bless you all. Tune in again later, and I thank you all for listening tonight. Good night.